Hi there everyone, and welcome back to another very exciting chess game from the chess history. Today we have Akiba Rubinstein with the white pieces, and his opponent was Oskar Antze, strong German chess master for that time, in that era. And Akiba Rubinstein is of course considered as one of the greatest chess players ever, who never became the world chess champion. So let's see what happened in this chess game. Rubinstein starts the game with d4, knight to f6, and we have the Nimzo-Indian defense, queen to c2, and queen to c2 is known as the classical variation of the Nimzo-Indian defense. e3, castling, asking a question, bishop takes, queen takes. Actually, bishop takes is one of the most played moves. And then b6, so black wants to fianchetto his bishop maybe, but after knight to f3, d takes, bishop takes, and then bishop to a6. So exchanging the bishops, and Rubinstein has a pretty flexible and a very good position. So only this bishop doesn't look very appetizing, but he can push the pawn and then fianchetto his bishop, and at the correct time he can push the pawn and liberate this baby on b2. So queen to c4, attacking the knight, and where is the knight going actually? So black is forced to defend like this. I mean, black didn't want to play a passive move with going back with the knight. That would not be very good for black. And then b4 by Rubinstein. So again, bishop to b2 is on the cards. Queen to b7, bishop to b2, rook over. And let's look at this position. Now Rubinstein castled. And actually we can say that positionally white is doing very well. White has a pretty flexible position and black has a weakness. So this c-pawn is potentially a weakness. So Rubinstein can build up his army on the c-file. So he can potentially get closer with his knight as well. So it looks like potentially this c-pawn can be a liability for black. It is going to be dangerous. He can also maybe push his pawn and kick the knight back, place his queen to a more logical spot. So build some sort of Alekhin's gun, and how to defend the c-pawn. That c-pawn is going to be a gunner. So rest in peace to the c-pawn eventually. So black felt that, and black pushed the pawn c5. Very important move. D takes on c5 by Akiba Rubinstein. So you can see that positionally he is already doing pretty well. So Rubinstein was a very strong positional chess player. So after d takes on c5, he also liberated his bishop, as we talked before. So b takes on c5 and then b5. And is this b pawn pinned? Because if capturing the knight, then queen takes bishop maybe. But look carefully. Black has to defend the knight. Knight to c7. If capturing the knight, by the way, black can take the bishop, because if queen takes, I mean, black can capture the bishop, but after rook from f to b1, that is going to trap the queen. And where is the queen going? Queen is occupying on c2 and knight is occupying on d2. That is going to trap the queen. So we have knight to c7. Of course, I mean, let's make a silly move. And white can capture the knight. And if queen takes, then rook from f to b1 is going to trap the queen. So maybe black has to play something like this. Okay, so that is losing the queen. So you can see that white has a very good position already. So knight is forced to go back. And now attacking the b pawn. Maybe pushing the a pawn comes to mind. But Rubinstein played rook from a to b1. A very cool move. And again, the c-pawn is looking weak. So black played queen to d5. So what happens if capturing the pawn? Then queen takes queen, knight takes queen, and then bishop takes on f6. Tactics. So this is going to be a discovery attack to the knight. Once Bobby Fischer said tactics flow from a superior position. So if knight takes on a3, then rook to b3. So if capturing the bishop, bye-bye to the knight. And white is a piece up, easily winning for white. So rook from a to b1, and if knight takes on b5, then we have bishop takes knight, and that is going to be a discovery attack to the knight. And if knight takes on a3, forking queen and the rook, then I believe queen to g4, threatening checkmate, and at the same time attacking the queen, and that should be winning for white. And if capturing the bishop, then rook takes knight, and thank you very much for this chess game. White is easily winning. Okay, so this is why Rubinstein played rook from a to b1, queen to d5, and he played rook from f to c1, attacking the c pawn. And defending that pawn is not that easy. I mean, where is the knight going? For example, black didn't want to play a passive move. So if knight goes back, you can see that, I mean, where is the knight going? Because of this pawn, black can't also play knight to a6. So positionally, white is far more better. White is better. And also this bishop is aiming the king and also aiming the knight. So it looks like Rubinstein is simply choking. He is squeezing life out of his opponent. So a difficult position already for black. White has superior position. So we have exchanging the queens, and black captured on b5, moving the knight. What else actually? I mean, maybe black could try going back with the knight, but that is looking very passive, and white can easily develop a rook from b to c1, knight up and then knight back, attacking the pawn, and also the bishop can get in because this pawn can be pinned, let's say if doubling the rooks. So this pawn is a gunner. So eventually it looks like holding on to this position for black is extremely difficult. So you can see how Rubinstein is squeezing, choking his opponent. Big pressure for black in this position. So black decided to capture on b5, but he is running to this problem. Bishop takes on f6, and that's a discovery attack to the knight. But then knight takes on a3. Did Rubinstein blundered in this position? This is forking the rooks. I mean, what now? And also the bishop is under attack. Well, if capturing the bishop, very simple, then simply rook takes knight. And white is a piece up. So bishop takes on f6, but then knight takes on a3. Did Rubinstein blundered? So if, let's say, defending one of these rooks, then knight can capture the rook, we can capture the knight, and then pawn takes bishop. It looks like black is going to be exchange up. Black is going to win the exchange. What would you do in this position? It is white to move, and there is a very simple move in this position for white. So if I give you a few seconds, can you guess the next move for Akiba Rubinstein? Okay, did you see the move? Rook to g4, of course. So there is no time for capturing the rook. We have g6. If knight takes rook, which would be fatal for black, because of rook takes on g7, check, only move, and then rook back, check, mate, discover attack, discover check, and then checkmating the king. Okay, so again, bishop takes on f6, and then knight takes on a3, but after rook to g4, basically Rubinstein is threatening checkmate in two moves. So g6, and then saving the rook, and Rubinstein is a piece up. So it was a very difficult position for black already, and black end up losing the piece. So rook to c7, it looks like defending bishop to e7 idea. So black continues, by the way. White is a piece up, but black has two extra pawns. Although positionally speaking, this is very good for white, also because of this bishop, because of the control in the dark squares. So knight to g5, h5, maybe rook over was possible, rook to h4, again rook to h4, rook to c6, pawn up, e5, a desperate move to relieve his position, but f takes on e5. Now Rubinstein was threatening to play g4 anyway, and g4 was coming at the correct time. So rook over, but Rubinstein pushed the g-pawn, and after this move, Oskar Antze resigned, because now Rubinstein is basically threatening to capture the pawn, and actually black has a very difficult position. Not just that, but of course white is also a piece up. And if rook to b4, then white has this very cool move, e4, blocking the rook, so pinning this pawn, but after pushing the pawn, blocking the rook, and again threatening to take the pawn. If you take, checkmate. So g4 is actually a very strong move. So if some random move, let's say c4, then g takes, on h5, pawn takes, rook takes, basically in this position pawn takes is a threat, and then threatening checkmate. So pawn takes, rook takes, and how do you defend? Rook to h8, checkmate. Maybe giving up to rook and suffering a little bit more. So they say Rubinstein was actually one of the strongest chess players in his era easily, and they say he was basically the greatest chess player, or one of the greatest chess players ever, who never became the world chess champion. So after g4, black resigned because of being a piece down, and also because this position is unplayable, and white is very close checkmating the black king actually in this position as well. An unplayable position, black has nothing. Okay, so Rubinstein basically, he simply demolished his opponent. He outplayed his opponent strategically, tactically, positionally. He simply destroyed his opponent, humiliated his opponent. In just 26 moves, I believe, he simply outclassed his opponent. Unbelievable. So, and in 1910s, when Rubinstein was at his peak, some says he was almost invincible. Only Emmanuel Lesker could compete against Akiba Rubinstein in those years. So, okay, thank you so much for watching. Maybe Capablanca too, by the way. Okay, so just stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.